Hello, hello, Sarah here. Today we are going to use Adobe Spark to create a mood board. I most recently created a mood board for a client. This is a new social media client, and rather than just jumping in and getting started on posting and stories and creating, she thought it would be good to create a mood board to help flesh out her branding, and it was actually pretty fun. And I used Adobe Spark to do it, and I thought I would just give a little tutorial on how to create one using Adobe Spark, because if you were like me, you were a little intimidated by using it. When I hear Adobe or Photoshop or Adobe Spark, I tend to think that's just for graphic designers, and I am certainly not that. So I've kind of avoided using it, but it turns out it's pretty simple to use, it's fun, and it was really effective for getting she and I on the same page on what we wanted to kind of create and accomplish with her social media. So let's get to it. Now, with Adobe Spark, it is a paid feature, so you do have to have an account with Adobe in order to use it. But I'm logged in under spark.adobe.com, and here is just the default dashboard. And once you get started, you simply click on the plus sign in the blue circle, and it will bring up all kinds of projects you can do. And you can see social media graphics, a photo journal, slideshows, invitations, pretty much anything graphics wise you can create with Adobe Spark. But for today, we are going to do a mood board, and I'm actually going to look up their templates. So I just type it in their little search bar up here, and it brings up all the mood boards, the templates they have for mood boards here. So I am just going to pick one that I've used before that has a lot of elements, so you can see a bunch of different elements and how easy it is to change them to what works best for you and for your brand. So it just takes a few seconds for it to load. Now, what's cool about this is, let's say you're like, oh, I picked this template, but I'm not into it. You can easily switch it out. On the right here, it brings up all the templates again. So if you do want to switch it out, you just click on one and it'll give you this pop-up. And it'll give you the option to save the current one, as you can see. You just click here if you want to save the one that you had been working on, and then it'll open up this new one in a separate screen, but it'll save what you have already worked on. But for our cases, we like this template, we're going to keep it. Now up here is where you are going to name your project, and we'll just call it Sarah's Mood Board. And I just hit enter, and that's it. Let's say you're like, ugh, I don't like what I named it. You can always change it to whatever you want. So it's super easy to change it. And then from here, we're gonna change out our mood board. So I'm already married. I don't really need a bridal palette mood board. I want to change that. So what I did here was I double clicked it, and it looked like I was too fast for it because it already added an extra line here. So I'm going to backspace and bring it up, and I'm going to change it to my branding mood board. Hit done, and then it automatically updates the text. But that looks kind of small. So over here on the right, you will see your text styles, and you can change out anything to do with that little box. So the font, let's say we're not into Laura Regular. We want to go with, let's see, who looks good to us? Railway looks good. it's looking a little small. So you just click on the size here and you can increase. Now it's looking way too big. I feel like that movie Weird Science when they're trying to figure out how to make a girl. And then once you figure out the size that you want, you can also change the color, which is really cool. So over here, you'll find the color. You just click on it once and it'll give you the current color. And these are colors actually that have been saved from a mood board I did yesterday. So it kind of keeps your most recent choices on hand. Or, so you can choose from here a new color, or you can even move the cursor. I tend to like bright pinks. And then it'll give you the hex code here for future use on another project if you need it. And then you just hit save. Now, if you don't want to go through all that, it will give you some suggested colors to go with that template. Or you can scroll down and it kind of gives you just basic colors within kind of the blues, the purples, the yellows, etc. So it's really easy to change the text here. And then you can click and change your mood board, your secondary headline. Let's make it like more of a pink. And I think it needs to be a little bigger. Is it going to let me change the mood board? Is fine. And then moving on is our color palette. These are simple changes as well. So you can left click on them. You can either change the icon itself. So when you left click twice, it'll bring up icon choices. And let's say we want to make a star. And you click on star and you want to make all of these stars. So I double click. And then it keeps the chosen color. Oops, we're going to delete that guy. I added one. And so really any icon that they have in their little library, let's see if they have a sun. Yep, you can change it to pretty much any icon that they have in their library. Okay, now let's say you want to change the color. Same idea. You click on it once so that you're choosing the icon that you want to change. You go over here and click once on color. And again, you can go in and easily change the color and hit save. Now, what's nice is once you move on to the next one, it automatically has saved that new color choice and it offers it up as a suggested color for next time so that you don't have to keep track of the hex code and you don't have to, it automatically saves that for you. So it's a really nice feature. Now, let's move on to the pictures themselves. So left click. Let's say you're like, again, I'm not getting married, so I'm not really into a bridesmaid dress, but I want a beach scene. So this automatically defaults to help you find free photos. So you click in your search, hit enter, and it will find you what they have for royalty-free photos that you could use. Ooh, that looks nice. I left click twice and it automatically swaps it out for me. Then I'm like, well, my little title here doesn't make sense anymore because obviously it's not dresses. So I left click once and it'll bring up the color. So I can change the color here, I can change the size. So just like we did with the title, you can change everything about this little rectangle, but if you left click on it twice, it'll bring up the text, and you can change that, easily change that. So double click, and I think I want this to be, and again, you can add like a space. It's not necessary. It'll just make your, now it kind of made that super small. So we're going to want to adjust our size here. Oop, too big. Now you see when you left click, it gives you the size of the box. So you can keep track of how big they are so that you keep them all. So this is at 70. So we actually need to increase this just slightly so that they're the same size. Perfect. Now from here, I want to change that picture because obviously it's not yoga anymore. So you want to click on the picture itself twice. And type in your search. And it brings up a bunch of royalty-free photos that you can use to swap out. Now these photos, I believe, are from Unsplash, which, yep, that's actually what it says right there. Unsplash is a great website, and if you haven't used it before, it's really amazing. And I highly recommend it for content writers or anyone looking to update their blog and keep it really fresh. Unsplash allows you their royalty-free photos, and you're allowed to use them. If you're going to publish something publicly, they ask that you do give credit for the author. But for our purposes, since this is something that we're using internally in-house, we don't need to give credit to, not author, the photographer. So I like this one. We're going to double click, and it automatically swaps it out. And that really is it. You can change all the pictures. Now, let's say you're like, I don't really like these rectangle boxes in the center. You can move them up. You can move them. You can even move the orientation of your picture. So let's say it's not showing enough, or it's showing too much of the flowers, and so you want your little title to show up more. So use your cursor. Once you click on it, that's what you get to move. Once you get your little hand motion, that's what you can move. And so you got to wait until you have your hand little doodad. And you can move them all around, right? And change the orientation of your picture. But let's say you're like, I don't even want a headline on here. So highlight it, and then you press delete, and it gets rid of it. So you don't have to keep the titles if you don't want. Another nice feature is, let's say you just deleted those and you're like, oh crap, I actually want the titles. There's a nice little undo button here. And then if you're like me and you change your mind again and you're like, wait a minute, I was right, I need to get rid of those titles. You can hit redo and it goes back again. So it's very versatile, and it's very user friendly in terms of what you can and can't do. And if you make mistakes, it's easy to fix. But that, in a nutshell, is how you would create an easy mood board in Spark Post. You can, of course, make one from scratch, but like I said, they have a lot of fun templates, and so I find it's just easier to kind of pick a template and swap out pictures and text and to whatever I want it to look like. But then once I'm done, they have a nice little function you can download it easily. You can download it as a PDF. You can download it as a picture, whatever you need. And then the other nice aspect is you can invite people to the mood board. So you can send the link itself so that people can see it as a work in progress. They can add um, comments or design elements, whatever you need. But if you wanted to download it, you just hit that download icon and you can do it as a PNG file, a JPEG, or a PDF, which I've done all three, and it's very easy. You just click the option you want, click Start Download, and it automatically will download it for you. But I really am all about Spark now. I think it's super easy to use. I was really wrong in my hesitation because once I got in and started to play around with it, I realized that there's a lot of fun things you can do, and it's super helpful if you're starting out with your branding and you're not quite sure about things like what's your color palette or what kind of themes you want to go for in your social media or your website even. What kind of themes for your pictures or what kind of feelings you want to invoke. A mood board is a great way to get started with those things. So I highly recommend doing a mood board in Adobe Spark. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions or something I didn't cover in this video, just comment below and I'd be happy to share what I have learned. But until then, I will catch y'all next week. Thanks. Bye.